Hi, welcome to this week's edition of More Insights and Strategy, the Enterprise App Podcast. I'm Melody Brue, and I'm joined by Robert Kramer. We are both VP and Principal Analysts. Robert is ERP and Enterprise Data. I am Modern Work, HCM, CX, and a couple of other acronyms. But on this show, we talk about all of the tools, trends, trajectories, and people and marketing technologies, enterprise apps, ERP, CRM, and of course, the glue that holds it all together, data. This week, we are going to be talking about Acumatica, Oracle AI agents, calling in ransomware attacks, some big C-suite moves, and then what's coming up, because we've got a lot of things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Huh, Robert?
We're busy.
Before we get started, this show is for information and entertainment purposes only, and it is pretty entertaining, I would say. While we will discuss publicly traded companies on this show, its content should not be taken as investment advice. So we will, with that, get started. And by your background, I see you are living large in Vegas. You're pretty high up there. So you're like in the penthouse in Vegas?
Well, I'm not a gambler, but they gave me I'm on like the 58th floor. So I'm not sure if it's a real floor or they started at floor 30, but I'm at Acumatica's yearly summit, which is actually going really well. There's a lot of customers here, and there's a pretty interesting vibe around data and change management, and not as much of a vibe around AI agents, because I think that they feel that there's a little bit more technology to talk about than AI and AI agents, which is pretty interesting. But the customers seem to be pretty happy. I sat in a lot of customer meetings and had some one-on-ones with some substantial manufacturers. And they feel that the focus beyond data and change management and AI agents is, how do we get this IoT data into the system? How do we address sustainability? How do we expand the community of customers and our ecosystems? And how do we actually explain AI and AI agents and how it works and performs the best in collaboration with humans? And, we talked a little bit about this in the past of how Industry 5.0 can help with that story and redefine the discussion of the collaboration between humans and robots. So all of this is more of a focus on how they can expand technology for this modern ERP system. And it's been a pretty interesting few days.
Isn't it funny that I think, a year ago, companies were trying to be different by talking about AI. That was sort of the shiny object of the moment. Now companies are sort of being different by saying AI isn't the thing. We're not here to talk about AI. And, obviously, a lot of what we do is advisory for our clients. And often, what I talk about is you have to recognize that if you are talking about AI all the time, eventually AI is going to become in the background. It's not going to be the thing. You can't, we can't always be AI first, because it's going to become like, my comparison is like .com.
Right.
Remember when everything was called .com?
Yep.
Like every product you used, and it wasn't just a website thing. It was like your dog food was something.com, everything was .com. And eventually the .com disappeared, because it's like, of course, everything is .com, because you can get everything on the internet. So I think AI is going to kind of move into the background the same way. And so we have to sort of start thinking of that from the way that we talk about it, the way that we integrate it into technology, the way that we use it. It's going to disappear a little, and we have to get used to it sort of being that partner, sort of coworker, rather than this bolt-on
Right.
assistant, AI assistant kind of thing. So if you can get that, where like you're saying there, it sounds like Acumatica is approaching it, which is not everything has to be an AI agent to do this. It's just going to sort of start to integrate into the way our work flows.
Exactly what they're trying to do and showing their community of customers is that they have a fantastic platform, right? And then the platform allows you to run your business. How do we allow our customers to integrate more technology to run your operations at a higher level, to expand and grow without adding production facilities, but adding technology? And is AI the only discussion topic, or do we need to talk about how do we extend the edge? How do we involve and grab data from IoT? How do we become more sustainable? How do we partner with additional vendors and technologies that we don't have? That's the discussion. But AI and AI agents does help. It helps with efficiencies and task and strategic moves that these companies need to do. But at the end of the day, it's not the only thing to talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really what the MO was at this conference. It was really interesting. So, but well, go ahead. I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was actually. I think we might have been headed in the same direction, which is our next topic. Was that where you were going?
Yeah, we're talking about AI. I know Oracle. There's an interesting, I guess, article and topic around sales and Oracle and AI agents, and I wanted to see what your thoughts are on that to discuss.
Yeah. So at Oracle, they just had their Cloud World Tour in Dubai last week, and they announced Oracle AI Agent for Sales. So AI capabilities for Oracle Fusion Cloud Sales. And they had, I mean, I think you said all the things that sort of AI agents should be doing, right? So kind of create, manage, and serve customer relationships across, this is across like marketing, sales, and service. But I think kind of some of the key features is like connecting the data from finance and supply chain systems. They have a customer engagement agent, and these are kind of some of like the typical things you would sort of expect, which is like generating emails, and you can kind of adjust the tone and the call to action. One thing that they did call out was that they can generate kind of spam filter friendly emails, which, you know,
That's
we all
pretty.
know how many things end up in spam, especially sales things. So that's good. But customer records agent, customer intelligent assistant, and then it does have multilingual support. So that's good, from like a multilingual support for a global audience. I think that's good. But I think they did have some interesting kind of ROI, I would say ROI light. There are, I think we're starting to see companies reporting some ROI, and I think there's still not like a consistent measurement of how companies are reporting their ROI across using generative AI and AI agents, because they're talking about productivity and they're talking about, maybe it's money saved, time saved. Are they talking about revenue yet? We're not really sure how they're reporting it, but one thing they did say is that they are looking at generative AI embedded sales technologies are predicted to reduce time spent on prospecting and customer meeting prep by over 50% by the end of next year.
Wow.
So that's pretty significant. Um, I think that this all of this just aligns with Oracle's strategy to streamline. Oracle's strategy. I had like three S words in a row. Streamline strategy for sales process. Um, and as you said, one of the goals of all of this is just efficiency, right? So that's really where we're trying to get with AI agents is efficiency. And where that efficiency goes, I think this is a topic for another conversation, which is how are companies going to justify where they spend their AI investments. And when I say investments, I don't actually mean whether they pay for it or not, because Oracle's AI is included in their products. at like many other vendors, Zoom, now Google, but that doesn't actually mean it's free because you still have training, you have IT, you have managing all of it. So free doesn't necessarily mean free when we're talking about AI. But how do we then kind of measure that ROI when it comes to that? So I think that's a deeper conversation that we should have. And I think, I'd love your thoughts on in ERP, how is that being how is
Absolutely.
that being measured from a um, cost versus ROI perspective? And we can maybe we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, that'd be great because I think it's complicated. You have to look at indirect versus direct. But one of the things that you mentioned with Oracle, it's all predicated on data. And one of the things I've said in the past is your data AI ready. And
Hmm.
one of the discussions that came out of Acumatica, not to come back to that, was data has to be set up correctly from whether it's done from the beginning or you go back and do it, because all this technology that we're going to be talking about, is all taking the data that you have and then exploiting that. So if your data is not right, it's not going to, whether it works for AI or AI agents, it's not going to work for sustainability, for all the other things that we're getting to that are revolutionizing, the IT world. So I think the data is an important key for companies to make sure that they're paying attention to, not just going and just thinking they're okay, like with the Oracle, the AI, and the sales component that you talked about. If your data is not set up correctly, or you're not inputting it in the manner that's the best way, then you're not going to be able to get the output. So I think everybody knows that because we've been talking about it forever.
So as a an Oracle customer though, if you're using this, you're an Oracle customer, don't you think that or do you think I shouldn't I'm leading the witness here. Um do you agree or do you think that you're based on the systems and how they're set up, you're more likely to have your ducks in a row, your data in good condition if you're already using the systems that are feeding into
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, but those systems that are feeding, those have to be, you know, uh, they have to be quality controlled the way that to make sure that the data is correct. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds, but at this
Yeah.
end of the day, the answer would be yes, I think. But as we look at all of this, and it sounds great, there's always a vulnerability somewhere. And I know that there was a recent article about a collaboration tool, Microsoft Teams. There's been some recent ransomware threats, and maybe this is a sign of the times that companies, they need to pay attention to all angles of their business. But what's your thought on that?
Yeah. So this actually kind of came out initially from some cybersecurity researchers at Sophos. Discovered that some threat actors had exploited Microsoft Teams. They were spreading malicious links and files that were potentially leading to ransomware infections attacks. And they were using AI for social engineering, which makes the attacks a lot harder to detect. Um, Microsoft has acknowledged this. They're working on the solution. This, I think, this, okay, so we can call out that this happened in Microsoft Teams. I think there, this to me shows like a broader issue, and that's, from if you're looking at show notes, we call this calling in ransomware attacks. I think this is really a broader issue of collaboration tools really needing to be really vigilant across the board because a lot of these breaches were done with like social engineering, like they're posing as like, IT or help desk or something. And I think, if you look at most employees getting somebody, some pop-up on, say, Teams, or whether it's Zoom or WebEx or whatever, they're not necessarily going to be totally on guard and be like, oh, is this really IT? They're going to trust, or they're going to think that
Mhm.
that's actually the company, they looking to help them with something, telling them they need to update their system, whatever that is. And they create this sense of urgency that something has to be done right away. Update their files, share your screen with me. This is the type of thing that's happening and that's exposing them. So Sophos said that there had been, more than 15 incidents in the past, like, 3 months or so, but that more than half of them had occurred in the past 2 weeks. So it looks like it sort of had kind of escalated a bit more. So, I think, like you said, they're becoming, every type of threat, I think, is becoming more and more common, and we have to be more vigilant. But I think these sort of tech support scams are easier to happen over these collaboration platforms, because most of them, all Microsoft Teams, Zoom, WebEx, any of them allow for outside calling.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten like some random like spam messages on Teams. It's Again, it's not isolated to Teams.
Widespread.
This
It's
is, I think everybody's going to have to be really very kind of guard up about this. I know Will Townsend wrote an article about, or wrote a research brief about, or no, sorry, a research note about um, Cisco's latest AI summit, and they've made a big announcement about a major security initiative that they've just launched. So I haven't done a deep dive into how that affects WebEx,
yeah.
um, but
Yeah.
knowing how they operate, it will, anything they do, especially now that G2 Patel is over product, including WebEx, it will cover that. So very smartly so. But yeah, you got to think, like, if somebody were to pop up on our More Insights and Strategy group chat saying, hey, Robert, I need you to update your software, you probably would think, oh, it's time to update software, right? Like,
Right.
this is
I wonder if they're getting through the Active Directory, if it's something from that perspective.
hmm,
I have to look into that because I had a recent article on Active Directory and Commvault's
yeah,
recovery tools that they have with that. There's the major companies that do data protection, and they're really digging their heels in with newer technology, and Commvault just came out with that. But they're focused more on they're focused on data protection, but resiliency, because everybody's going to get breached, and you have to be prepared to be able to recover quickly. And a lot of these do start with an Active Directory because of the fact of just different ways to get into the house. And I think
mm,
it's a very complex. We've made it complex, and then it creates a lot more vulnerability with the technologies that all these companies have. But as we look into the to our next discussion, we're going to both be at Zoho next week, and Zoho sees AI as a major component to their future, right? And they made I think a change at the top of the company that I didn't see coming. I'm not sure if you did it. You might be a little closer to that one than I am, but what happened, and what do you think?
I honestly didn't see this one coming. Sridhar Vembu, who's Zoho's CEO, founder, really, honestly, I think built this company. It is like literally his heart. Like,
You have
when
an
you talk,
exclusive interview with him next week as well.
yeah, well, we'll be hearing from him. Um, he'll be at Zoho Day next week here in Austin, but
The new
he
CEO. Well, sorry.
he is going to transition from CEO to head of well, chief scientist, head of R&D. So, and then he's also, so if we've talked about Zoho before on Hot Desk Podcast, but for anybody who's not super familiar with Zoho, Zoho has like this really kind of deep mission in rural development and economic development in the areas in which it does business. Sridhar has like a very deep passion and heart for that, and he is going to continue on that in addition to his role as chief scientist and responsible for R&D initiatives. Um, I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say about that, as well as meeting with the new division CEO of Zoho, Manny. There are a few, they kind of have separated out the operations from Zoho. They're the US operations, the managed engine division, and then the Zoho.com division. So we'll be hearing from all of them next week. But it is a big change, and we'll see. I mean, we've talked to Sridhar so many times about keeping the company privately held, about the way his conviction for them keeping it that way because of they can answer only to their customers and to their employees, and they really emphasize that part about their employees and the way that they build the company for that. And so it'll be interesting to hear, if there's any change in that. I've heard nothing. I'm not speculating whatsoever that there's any intention to not keep it that way. But I will be interested to hear from the new leadership kind of if they have that same kind of passion that he does in all of those areas, and they're just sort of taking over from an operational standpoint, or if there's any sort of change in kind of the ethos of how they want to run the company. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it'll be interesting to hear from Sridhar, and then also when you meet with Manny. I think that change is always fantastic, and it allows companies to grow. So for him, it was a bold move for him to admit that he wants to take a different direction for himself, and that could potentially help the company. They are at a crossroads where they want to do more with the company as far as to get into enterprise a little bit further than they are right now. And I know that was a big direction last year, and this year we'll have to see what they release at the Zoho event coming up this Monday. But at the same time, there's a lot of competition when you go into those types of enterprise areas. But I do think it's a great move for them, and for him to push the torch to Manny. We'll have to see what Manny's vision is, and then we can kind of report back. But growth is what they're looking for. They're looking to expand. I do like what Sridhar has done in the past is as far as the community that he has put together for his employees. I think it's a very unique one, and the way that he takes care of his team, and he's very transparent, which is evident with this announcement. And we'll see if we get the same vibe from Manny, and then their AI direction. So I'm going to be meeting also with Ram, who's head of AI, and to talk to him about how he's supporting Sridhar's endeavors with their AI vision, and then what other technologies that they see as a fitting one. As I come out of the Acumatica and talk to some of these other ERP companies, do they see those same technologies as a big deal as well? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'll be a very interesting conversation that you'll be able to have with him, because Zoho has I would say they have sort of like a quiet development cycle on some things where they build and they ship, and they don't make a big fuss, but their customers love them. And we've talked about this before. And they have a great AI story to tell. They don't shout it from the rooftops. They're not, like that's not their main thing all the time, but they actually really do have a great AI story to tell. And what StreetR will say is that they've been doing AI for 20 years. So why would they be talking about it now, right? So we'll see how that's changed. Another really big change in the C-suites across the land is Jerry Gold from HPE Financial Services is leaving. There is a new sheriff in town, Maeve Kulati, who will be replacing her as executive vice president and president of, or executive vice president, president, and CEO. I guess she gets 3 titles. And she'll be reporting directly to HPE CEO Antonio Neri. So Jerry, she's amazing. I've met with her several times. She's been with HPE for a really long time, but I can't remember how many years. She has been doing this. She's a 23-year career with Compaq, HP, and now HPE. The really big thing that she's done is I think, like, what I know her for, at least, is that she just has this like very sustainability driven approach to their
Great.
business. I'm sure that I think anybody like Jerry and Antonio picks a very fine replacement, but I think somebody like Jerry has got to be a hard one to lose. But HP Financial Services, I think, you think about financial services, it might be, worth kind of explaining what they do. They operate one of the world's largest IT manufacturing refurbishing facilities. So I'm going to have to look at this to give you some stats. They process up to 4 million assets annually. The majority of them are refurbished and reused. So that's that, circular economy. They contribute to HPE 30.13, so basically 30 billion in revenue over the last year, over the last 12 months. So it's not just a small little financing division of HPE. This is a really significant part of HPE. So I look forward to seeing what Kulati does. She is a CPA. She has served at HP and HPE. She was, I think, a chief of staff. I mean, she's definitely looking to see what she'll do there. But the HPE has done, or HPE Financial Services has done some really interesting things with financing for companies who are kind of showing green initiatives. I wrote about that actually a couple of years ago, but they're very focused on the circular economy and I think doing some really good work. So while I'm sorry to see her go and don't know what she's doing next, I'm looking forward to seeing what this new woman brings to the table.
Sounds fantastic. As I'm in Vegas right now, I'm going to be leaving soon to go to New York, as we're going to try and wrap up this podcast. But I'm actually going to Microsoft's AI event in New York City. Scott Guthrie, who's the executive VP of AI for Microsoft, is going to be heading that up with their keynote. But it's an executive analyst event, and it's going to be talking a little bit about their investment in AI, responsible practices, and have some technical sessions. So as I leave the beautiful sun here, hopefully it won't be too cold. Is when we pack and go on these trips, if we have to go to multiple places, hard to decide what to bring. So I have this heavy coat that I've been lugging around for 4 days, and I haven't used it yet. But I think when I get to New York, it's going to be
You're
cold.
going to need it. Yeah, you're going coast to coast, and then you're coming back to the middle of the country for Zoho. And I just checked the weather, and we're going to get some sun when you arrive.
That's great. And
Um, yeah,
so
so
what do you have coming up? I know that you just mentioned Zoho, but what else?
After Zoho, I will be, I have to go to Napa Valley for Ring Central's Analyst
Beautiful.
Summit. And then there's a couple of things that, just things start really happening quickly after that. There's like a slew of events, including Adobe Summit, Enterprise Connect, and then there's a couple I actually had to sadly turn down because there's just too many. But, I pointed out to some analyst relations folks the other day that we do have a More Insights and Strategy event calendar that we release, and it's on our website under our analyst insights, and it's every week we update it. So if anybody wants to know where we are, you can find it there. And you are off to where after Zoho? You go right up. You're leaving Zoho to go somewhere else, right?
I go
Not
back.
leaving Zoho, but right after Zoho, you go
I go
off.
back to New York for Oracle's Suite Connect. It's a NetSuite event, and then the following week I'm going to back to New York again. I think New York's the hub for events starting this year for this first quarter of the year, and for SAP's Analyst Council. So keeping busy with all of those right out of the gate, back to back to back.
We
So
might be in New York at the same time. We'll have to compare calendars because I'll be there for IBM. I think later in the month. So we'll have to see. Maybe we'll be there at the same time.
yep. But
We'll
I'll
see each other other than on video.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll see you at Zoho this week, and we'll have to report back on the different changes that are going on there and how they influence their community and how it's going to make a difference. I'm sure it's a positive move that they made it for a pretty good reason. So, well, I want to thank everybody for joining. Robert Kramer, Melody Brue. If you like what you see, please like us. Please tell us what you want to hear next. We're happy to address different topics. But Enterprise Apps Podcast this is our episode 3. Look forward to next week, and we'll look forward to see everybody then. Thank you very much.
Thanks.